Well, good morning, McAllen Grace Brethren Church. Are you guys excited to be here?
Yeah!
Yeah, everybody got sick and abandoned me last week. First day I was looking forward to having fellowship in my church, and nobody showed up. I felt like going to visit you guys. You're not going to church? I'll take church to you. But I'm glad to be here after being gone 6 weeks. I thought it was never going to end. I was just counting the days and counting the days and counting the days and counting the days. And they kept getting smaller and smaller, but it here took a long time to count 6 weeks. So I am praying that this infection is gone from my leg, and that way I get my knee and I can go back to some kind of normal life again, where I can drive. I can't drive right now because my leg has to stay straight, so it's kind of hard to drive stiff, like even get in the vehicles like that too. So just be in prayer for us tomorrow as we travel today, actually, for an appointment tomorrow. We're going to do some tests on my leg and determine whether the infection is gone or still there. So just keep that in prayer. But one of the things that one of the things that you do when you've got nothing else to do but stare at the walls, and there were no pictures in there. Doretta came in, she's an artist. She goes, "You want me to bring some of my paintings and start hanging them all over the place?" I go, "Man, I wish you could, but I don't know if it's against the hospital rule. There's no pictures hanging up in the walls or nothing." He goes, "You need something that's more homely here." So anyway, I do thank Doretta, and they visited me about 3 times, and Michael Beard visited me a couple of times, and then I had some chaplains come and visit me. I guess I thought I was going crazy, so I invited the chaplains to come visit me, and it was good to meet new chaplains. Marketplace, which is what Arj and I do, to meet some of these guys, and one of them still texts me messages, and he was a really, really nice guy, Tim. But one of the things that I was thinking about while I was there, because everybody's always saying, write a book, write a book, write a book. And so I have a ghostwriter we're supposed to be working together, but we haven't done much work because I've been sick. And they're writing a story of my life. It's going to be a rather boring book. But they're trying to get it together. But I also have my doctoral dissertation and other things. But the thing is, where do I go for to get published? Well, one of the chaplains, his name was Carlos. Was it Carlos Ars? Carlos Garzon. Never heard of that name before, but apparently it's a Spanish name. But he, chaplains are usually not pastors. They're usually people that were in the business force and were Christians, and so I asked most of the guys that came were retired pastors. I asked Carlos, and he said, because no, it's actually I still work. I have a small publishing company for Christians. So I said, really? So I made my contact. He said, yeah, I usually give way bigger discount than most places because this is for the Lord, and God's going to use that material to bless other people. And he was one of the first people, because he taught me. He's the one that said that I should be writing a book. So I said, well, everybody keeps telling me that. Maybe someday I will. so when someday I will. Well, I gotta publish my doctoral dissertation, but I want to add 1 or 2 more chapters, and just gotta sit down and write them. But it was a blessing to be there. I met a lot of good people. Got an opportunity to share the Lord with people, pray for people. One of my van drivers or bus drivers who take me to the doctor, she prayed and accepted the Lord. That was a real blessing to see that. Introduce several people to the program, because and the Enclave Rehab Center was a part of the Marketplace Ministry, the Touchstone. They hired Marketplace Ministry pastors and chaplains, and so that was part of my. I told them, because actually we work for the same employee, for Touchstone, because Touchstone, when we do ministry work, chaplain work, they in our homes, Touchstone pays pays us to be there for the employees. And so it was really good to be there. I mean, people that I met, people that encouraged me. The physical therapy people were amazing. They want to make sure that everybody got there healthy. They didn't want to keep you there long term, And sometimes it's sad to see people go, but that's what we're here for, is to get you healthy enough to move on with your life. And so they really worked me hard, and which is fine. But they all kept saying, "Man," said, "you got amazing upper body strength, you know." And so I like working out my arms and stuff like that. And so after a while, physical therapy became fun because it became torturous. I figured the more I hurt, the better I got. So I enjoy going to physical therapy. I feel sorry for the physical therapist because you have people yelling at them and screaming at them and refusing to get out of bed because they got hurt, and then the parents of the children of the patients yelling at the physical therapist that they're not trying hard enough. And so I really feel sorry for the physical therapist because they get a lot of blame there because they're the guys that are on a constant basis seeing them. And so I had the privilege of having physical therapy not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 5 times a week. So I look forward to that hour and a half in the gym. It got me out of my room, number one, and number two, I got to see a bunch of crazy people, physical therapists. You have to be crazy to work there, and then I got to see grumpy people. One of the ones that really touched me though, there was an older lady. Again, I don't know about how old she was. Maybe judging by her father, who was probably in his 70s. So I say probably she was in her mid 30s, maybe older. I don't know, but I just observed them, and one of the things I noticed was that what an amazing love this father had for his daughter. And you can tell that he's had her, he's been doing this for a very long time, and he would visit her every single day, and they take her to physical therapy. And when she was complaining, she said, "No, you got to do this. You got to do this. You got to do this." So one time, they made me do this little thing where you put the stick on the little notches up, but it's you can't see it. It's a piece of plywood with hooks at the end. You go clunk, 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 kind of like a rifle rack. Clunk, clunk. So you have to do this like 14 steps up and 14 steps down, and this lady that was on the other side, and she kept going. He would say, "Yes, there's somebody on the other side of that little wall." It was kind of cute, and then to see him with this very lovingly getting her, wheeling her back to her room, and he probably spends all his time there with her, probably. But just special people there. And there was a lady that was always laughing. I mean, it's like she had a disease called a laughter disease. She would never stop laughing. And her husband come down with her, and she would just laugh at everything. And I'd be sitting there. The lady, this is so contagious. I was trying my hardest not to laugh because I don't know what she was laughing at. I was just laughing because she was laughing. And you can see people like, "What's wrong with that lady? She just loves to laugh." She goes, "Yeah, she's a very, very happy person. She just likes to laugh at everything." So I feel like, "Hey, you want to hear some jokes?" No. But anyway. But one of the thoughts that came to my mind was this song, "Hey Iris." Oh, here I was going to ask you to come play this is a matter. I think it'd be pretty cool with sing because it's been in my mind all along. Let's sing the. How many of you guys know the song "The Joy of the Lord"? The joy of the Lord is my strength. Do we clap somewhere?
Yeah.
And then I thought, you know what, I'm gonna talk about. I thought it'd be nice to sing it. I don't know the second stanza, but there's a second stanza to this. But I think "He Give Us Living Water" is something like that. So let's sing a couple of stanzas of that song. I think it'd be pretty cool. Everybody, how many guys know the song now? Everybody, sing it as loud as you can. Ready? The joy of the Lord is my strength. 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 He gives me living water and I thirst no more. He gives me living water and I thirst no more. He gives me living water and I thirst no more. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Now that everybody knows the song, everybody should be singing, Rick. Don't be old grumpy people on this earth. Now I'm going to sing because I got no joy in Jesus today. It's not even for the message.
Remember, I told you yet.
So I want to intensify. CJ, you can wake up and sing this song. You can go back to sleep. Ready? And clap. You know what the clap is. Sing really loud. Come on, George. You can do it. Ready, George? The joy of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord is my strength. Oh, let them do it. Of the Lord is my strength. The joy of the Lord is my strength. He gives me living water and I thirst no more. He gives me living water and I thirst no more. He gives me living water and I thirst no more. The joy of the Lord is my strength. All right, thank you, Iris, for coming back and playing the piano. So you people that heard Iris play the piano for the first time, that was my wife Iris playing the piano. And the person singing off key was Homer over here. So actually, he couldn't clap on rhythm, Homer. Come on, you're a drummer and everything. You couldn't go.
I was doing the song right. I know I was.
So anyway, thank you so much. It's kind of, but that's and that's kind of the title of my message is was learning to rejoice, and because sometimes it's very difficult to laugh, and sometimes it's very difficult to be happy. You look at everything that's happening to you, and all the woes and frustrations of life, and here I am at a rehab center, which I don't want to be in, with a leg that's just been cut open, and they took my knee out, and they put a spacer, so it means I can't bend my leg at all, and if you bend it, it's a very painful experience. And last night I guess I was tossing and turning too much in my little recliner because I kept popping my knee and I kept waking up and freaking out, and because I thought and then I had dreams that Iris and I went to San Antonio, and I said, Iris, where's my wheelchair? Where's my walker? And my crutches, you needed them? And I woke up because I'm trying to drag myself all over the place. I'm not supposed to be walking on my leg, but you sit there in the room and you I don't get depressed. It's just like, man, there's so many things else I could be doing. I did do that cross. I thought it was pretty cool. Hey, Rick, give me my cross here, right there. And that was a big project. And after I finished it, I don't know if you guys can see it in the cross. It's an old broomstick that I found one time when we were cleaning the garage about 4 years ago, and it was broken, and we were going to throw it away, and I goes, wow, the broomstick. I wonder if I can make a large cross with it. So I cut it and made a cross. This says, you look at the wood, you can tell it's old redwood, and I said, I'm going to start beating that. But man, it took forever to go around because you do it one beat at a time. And so it took me forever. So when I got to the hospital, I only done about right here, maybe about right there. And so I did 4 years as was much, and the rest of the time, while I was in the rehab center, and every day I get at my cross and I beat, and so that kept me in my mind occupied. But for some reason, that phrase, "the joy of the Lord is my strength," came to mind. That song came to my mind, and so I opened up my laptop and I went to my Bible Gateway and I put that phrase that it says, "the joy of the Lord." I want to see how many times it came out in the Bible, the joy of the Lord. And lo and behold, I was very surprised. It came out about 8 times, maybe 9 times, the joy of the Lord. 6 of them were in the book of Psalms. So most of them were in Psalms, actually more like 11 times. And every time I read that message, it came with an important lesson. It came with an important attribute or characteristic that we as believers should be doing every single day of our lives. But I know that sometimes, even as Christians, sometimes it's very difficult, specifically when you are in pain or frustrated, financial needs, you name it. And sometimes it's very difficult to have the joy of the Lord in my heart. And what does it mean specifically to have the joy in my heart? So I was just thinking a lot about this, and I kind of just studied a little bit about what does it mean, but the joy of the Lord is my strength. And I read somebody's little documentary, and he goes, the joy of the Lord basically means to be content. not necessarily happy, not necessarily laughing or joking around or making light of the situation, just being content with the situation that God has placed you in at this moment. Because everything happens for a reason and everything happens for a purpose. And you can't blame the devil for everything. Because after all, the devil can't do anything without God's permission. So if the devil starts throwing affliction or torture or pain on you, it's not, don't blame the devil, blame God then, because the devil can't do it unless God gives him permission to do it. And if God gave him permission to do it, then God's trying to teach us an important lesson in life. Sometimes I don't know what that lesson is. You have to sit there and pray about it and pray about it. And sometimes he won't even give you why things happen the way they happen, but they happen. And he wants us to express this whole concept of joy. I think if anybody had that concept of joy, and he wrote a lot about it, and that was Paul. Because Paul was considered the suffering apostle, because the way he afflicted the church of God, when he afflicted the church of God and killed Christians and threw them to a lion and skinned them alive, he was there laughing and enjoying these people to be tortured for the simple fact that they become Christians, that they accepted Jesus Christ as their personal Savior. And a lot of people were, literally, Paul was responsible for killing thousands. And here he's an apostle now. And God says, so you can learn a little bit of what you afflicted to somebody else. He goes, you will suffer for the rest of your life. And he did. And that's why you see Paul writing. When Paul is writing about suffering, it's because he understands what it is to suffer, because he not only just caused suffering, but then God promised him that he was going to be the suffering apostle, and he suffered to the day he died. He's the famous one where he had the thorn in the flesh, and I think it's 2 Corinthians chapter. I forgot the verse. But anyway, where he says he went before the Lord 3 times, begged God at 3 different times, because the pain was so intense, it was so horrible, that he begged God to take it away. And at the end, God said, no, my strength is sufficient for you. It says, my power will give you, and will become on your weakness. And sometimes that's what we need. We need to just give it all to God and allow God to work in our lives. That's why Paul wrote in Philippians chapter 4, one of the greatest expressions of rejoicing. He said in Philippians chapter 4, verses 4-7, rejoice in the Lord always. And in case you didn't catch it the first time, he says, and again I say rejoice. That's in Philippians chapter 4, verse 4. He said, rejoice in the Lord always. And again I say rejoice. And in the midst of rejoicing during affliction, he says, be gentle with people. I mean, one of the places to be so negative is in the rehab center or the hospital, because you're suffering, you're in pain, and these nurses and these doctors and these physical therapists are all there to help you regain your strength and go back to a normal life. And yet they're the most mistreated people in the world, because they blame their affliction on them whether they had anything to do with it. And that's something I noticed a lot. And I try to be happy. I mean, I try to joke around, say jokes to people, and they would laugh. And I think I was talking to, I don't know who I was talking to, maybe Rick or something, about the hospital actually sent a psychiatrist to talk to me because I was too happy. They want to know if there's something wrong with me, because I wasn't grumpy, complaining, yelling, screaming, but I was smiling, laughing, and I knew it wasn't pain, because it was a very painful experience, especially when I first was recovering. And I would tell silly stories, and they will wheelchair me to the rehab center, the gym, and the hospital was very far. And I would say, hey, how's it doing? How's it going? You doing okay? Everything okay? And people started talking to me and telling me their problems. And I said, you know what, I'm going to be praying for that. I'm going to be praying for that. And the next day I see him again, goes, hey, how's your wife doing? How's your daughter doing? I heard she was sick. He said, I've been praying for her. And I reminded I was praying for them, and they thought that wasn't normal. There was a guy who came out of the elevator, looked like Santa Claus. He was wearing white pants, a white shirt, had a beautiful white beard. The typical Santa Claus, but he was Spanish, so it was a little darker. Santa Claus you see in Hallmark movies, white hair, massive white hair, and this white beard, and of course he's wearing everything white, even white tennis shoes. And I said, "Hey, Santa," I said, "You can find your children even in the hospital." He goes, "Yes. So how have you been, Mr. Soto? Well, how have you been, sir?" He goes, "I've been a good boy." He goes, "I know you have." So every time I would go to the elevator, it just happened as I was going to physical therapy, Santa would keep coming. I don't know how that happened, but majority of the times, it's I passed into the elevators, it opened, I expected Santa to come there. "Hey Santa, how you doing?" He goes, "I see you being a really good boy, Mr. Sorrow. I'm going to visit you on Christmas. Ho ho ho! I'm ready for you." And people are looking at me like, the nurses and doctors are looking at me like, "Is there something mentally wrong with this guy?" and then I go and they took a while to figure this out in physical therapy that I was a joker, because the first thing you know I didn't take that, but just saying silly jokes, like they had to teach me how to get in a car, so they have a fake car, and I finally got on. He goes, "Okay, is it full of gas? Let me go home." And he goes, "No, Mr. Soto, you can't do that." And when Iris went to, because I was going to come back in Iris's journey, and the physical therapy people wanted to see me get in and out of that room, because at first I was going to come here. I wasn't going to spend the next 6 weeks of therapy up there. You know, I chose that because it'd be close to the doctors, and so I got on the back of and there was a nurse this physical, it was a nurse or physical therapist, I can't remember. Another physical therapist came with me, and I'm sitting in the back and says, "Okay, Iris, let's go." And then he goes, "Huh? Iris, come on. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go." I was just joking. And the person didn't know how to respond to that. And I started laughing. That was so funny, because these people didn't know how to respond to my humor. So the first night I got a psychiatrist. They sent a psychiatrist. I said, "Is this a social visit or a business call?" "Oh, a little both." And basically they thought I was too happy. I said, "Maybe it's the drugs you guys are killing me too." But no, normally I'm that happy too. I tried to be happy. It was okay. And then the next day I came in and there was a well-dressed guy in a suit, and I thought he was the hospital administrator. They were going to kick me out. And he was. They told the chaplain to come visit me because I was too happy. I told the chaplain, "Is it a crime to be happy?" You know, I says, when you have the love of Jesus in your heart, you try to smile even in times of affliction. He goes, "No, we just kind of wondering why you're so." I said, "Want me to try yelling, be grumpy?" He goes, No, it's fine." And Iris warned me of that because I had a sock. Remember Iris, my sock? Did I bring my sock with me? Yeah, I need to take it out. Because in my first day of physical, the hospital, when I woke up the next day, they wanted to see how well I was coordinated, but they were going to do in physical therapy. So it's occupational therapy, and she forgot to bring the little rod that I was supposed to use for this. She goes, "Let me get a sock," and there was a red sock, and she gave it to me, and so I was, "Let's do this," and I was just doing everything he told me with my sock. And so they go, "Okay, let me have the sock." And I said, "What are you going to do with the sock?" We'll throw it away." He goes, No. You can't throw my sock away. That's my sock. That's my first friend that I've had in the hospital. And I put it on. He goes, "How you doing, Robert?" "I'm doing fine, thank you." He goes, "Look, this is my physical therapist. Hi, how you doing?" I kept telling him, "You better stop it. You're going to call the psychiatrist." I was talking to my sock. It was XL, the first one. But then somebody, when I went to physical therapy, they cleaned my bed. And guess what? They threw XL away. And so I asked him if I could have another sock. But this time it wasn't XL, it was B. So I was trying to figure out what can I call my sock? Bruise? No, what was the bruiser? Bubba? Nah, it's too good. I don't want to make it a female, but my wife might get mad. Bessie. Anyway, so I brought my sock, and I just call it Mr. B, because it had a B. So every time I pick it up, we start going, "Let it be, let it be, let it be, let it be." So I brought my sock with me. I need to take it out again. I had it tied on my bed so nobody could throw it away because it was a special sock. XL was gotten rid of, but B was more gentle to me. I'll have to introduce you to Mr. B one of these days, and maybe he'll preach a sermon for me. And you guys can be blessed with Mr. B. But Paul said, "Rejoice in the Lord always." And again, I say rejoice. And sometimes it's so difficult to rejoice. So difficult. He said, the continues in verse 5, he goes, "Let your gentleness be evident to all." Not to just your friends, but by the way, a reason to bless somebody in the midst of pain. If you can bless somebody when you're miserable, you're doing a great job for God. That means that the joy of the Lord is really your strength. and you're going to trust him. You're going to take care of him, and you're going to trust him that even though you don't want to be here, this is the best for you. And then the problem is that we're anxious. We want to get everything done quickly, and we want it quickly, and we want it done now. You know, we kind of those guys that just wants to do everything. We like that McDonald's philosophy. You know, I'm kind of the fast lane. And you know who invented the fast food? You don't know?
Invented fast food?
Yeah. You know, having to drive up to a window, take your order.
I thought our people did it.
Yeah. No, migrant workers and blacks. Remember they used to go to restaurants and they wouldn't let them in, so they had to walk through a window and order their food and eat it outside. So you got to thank God for for migrant workers and black people, because they gave us fast food. They gave the world fast food because they put that window to feed them, because they wouldn't let them come in the restaurant to eat. But what everything, that fast food mentality, I want it now and I don't want to wait for it. And we do everything that, you know, it's like I was just listening to these exercise gurus. I like to hear this exercise people talk to me, and they were saying that nothing comes easy in life. If you want to start healthy, you got to start from basic one, simple exercise. Sometimes just moving around and doing things. And so it doesn't come overnight too. So you have to just keep at it, eating healthier and exercising more. But he says again, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say rejoice, that your gentleness be evident to all, for the Lord is near. And then he said in verse 6, do not be anxious of anything, but in everything, through prayer and petition and thanksgiving, present your request to God. And in verse 7 it says, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. I like that word, the key word to those six. The key word right here, transcends. Two words, three, all understanding. Transcends all understanding. It means that it makes no sense to the person seeing that you should be happy. There's just no reason for it. You're miserable, you're in pain, you're feeling horrible, you're going through a crisis, you have financial needs, whatever it is. And we just learn to laugh about it and learn to give it to God. And he said, and then don't take it out on other people. Don't take it out on your boyfriend, your girlfriend, your friends, your wife, your children, grandchildren. Don't take it out on them. It's not their fault. Your doctors, your nurses, your physical therapists, it's not their fault. It's not your fault either. It's God allowed it to happen. For God allowed it to happen, then He's got a lot to teach us. That goes back to that verse in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18, which I'd love to quote. And in everything give thanks. In everything give thanks. In everything give thanks. For this is the Father's will. In everything, Homer. Remember that? Every.
Yeah.
You guys repeat that word. In every.
Thing.
I repeat again. In every.
Thing.
You guys wake up now. Ready? In every.
Thing.
Say it louder. In every.
Thing.
In everything. In everything give thanks. Why? Paul answered the question, because this is the Father's will concerning you. Not me, not your wife, not your husband, not your boyfriend, not your girlfriend, not your children, not your grandchildren, concerning you. This is what God wants to be happening to you at this time. And he says, and if that's the case, if this is the Father's will concerning you, then there's got to be a reason for it. And so instead of grumbling and complaining, he said, we need to have the joy of the Lord and be thankful. And then give it to God. And allow God to work in your lives. To be content. And this is a very difficult word to pant of being content. And God says that a lot of times, you know, this is an opportunity because of humility. It is very humbling, by the way. Not be able to put your own clothes on because you can't bend your leg. It's very humbling to admit that you need your help. It is very humbling to me to be yelling at my wife, Iris, because that I can't do the simple things that I used to be able to do, just get up and run. Get up and go in and get into the showers. And we don't have a walk-in shower, so that's just a very difficult task. And then having to be sitting down because you can't stand up. Yeah. And it's very, very humbling time to ask for help. You know, very humbling to ask nurses and physical therapists for help. Or other people, especially strangers that you don't know, for help you. It's very humbling when you go sit in your wheelchair and you see people running to open the door for you. I always thank them. I don't say, I could have done that myself. You didn't have to do it for me. Sometimes I feel like saying that. You know, I remember the funniest story, I guess, I remember was Rick and I were at Jimmy A's having breakfast one time, and of course I was in my walker and I could barely move. This is before the surgery, I could barely move, and I had to go to the bathroom. So I went to the bathroom, and when I came out, this elderly lady came out at the same time. We kind of bathrooms are opposite our hallway, and we kind of like bumped, and we turned around, and I said, "Ready? Go!" And I go, "Never mind, you cheated. You got 4 wheels. I only got 2 in a slide." But as I'm going, dragging myself to go up there, this lady had a friend, and she ran. I mean, this elderly lady. I mean, she was a lot older than me. Yeah, show off. You can run. And here, this strong guy can't even walk. She ran past me and goes, "Here, let me get the door for you." Because I'm used to this, because I'm always opening the door for my husband. And I'm very flabbergasted. I mean, she literally ran past me. I thought she was really had to leave, and then just she ran so she could open the door for me, so I could exit the restaurant. And I thanked her. I said, "Thank you so much." I love it when younger people open the doors for me. I used to hate it. But you think I'm an old crippled guy? I can't do this for myself. I feel grumpy people say things like that, but I just thank them. And because sometimes it's just an act of humility. You know, this I saw that in Isaiah chapter 29:19, where it says, and once more, it says, "The humble will rejoice in the Lord." Once more, the humble will rejoice in the Lord. Because sometimes we have to be humble sometimes. And please don't tell me, "Well, God did this so you can rest." Don't tell me that. I have a good God. I know a lot of things are happening, but He doesn't punish His children just because you want to rest. I rest a lot, not enough, but I do rest. I hate that. I mean, I'm sorry if you told me that. I'm not criticizing you at all, but God doesn't afflict to make you rest. There's better ways of God telling me to rest, you know. But He said once again, Isaiah chapter 29, He says, once more, it goes, "The humble will rejoice." If you're not rejoicing, you ain't humble. Because when you're rejoicing, it means that you are content. That word again, you are content with the situation, circumstance, and situation that you are now. You're content with that. You're content with the fact that there's no money for food. You're content with the fact that there's no money for gas. You're content with the fact that you see everybody going out and you can't afford to go, so you have to make excuses. Not that you can't go with them. That you're content with that. That's okay with you. You're content with the home you got. You're content with the car you got. You're content with everything that's going on in your life. And that's just a sign of humility. And a sign of accepting the situation, the circumstance, that this is the Father's will concerning you in Christ Jesus. And we saw in First Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 18. He said, once more, Isaiah said, once more, the humble will rejoice in the Lord. The needy, okay, come on, everybody, all of us fall into that category. I'm not rich hiding the hog. I mean, you know how many times we've gone to San Antonio back? You guys know, you travel with me, you know how much money it takes for a vehicle to get to San Antonio back, and then the time. And then my wife, you know, she's an amazing driver. She just can't wait to get in that steering wheel and drive 6 miles up the road and drive right back. And actually, she hates driving. But she even flew through that tropical storm the other day that we had a couple of weeks ago. And she didn't want to tell me she probably told me how much the rain, and she didn't want to tell me about the tornadoes that were there by George West. And until I talked to my brother, he goes, "Hey, is this?" I said, "What time are you coming?" He goes, "About the time my wife was coming through there." He goes, "Well, she didn't get to see the tornadoes?" And I was, I didn't want to tell you about that. Hey, I put it on the scale. Not only was she driving by herself from San Antonio to McAllen and back, but she drove through a tropical storm. That's like one step down from a hurricane. And it was windy, it was raining. She couldn't see anything. She can't see anything anyway. But did you take your glasses with you? She goes, "I can't see anything." I'm going to tell her, "Did you have your glasses on?" I'm sure she did. But that's how heavy the rain was coming. Because even Ruben told me, "Man, the rain was so terrible. I could barely see the road." And Ari says, "Why did they blink in their lights?" And he said, "They're warning you." Car ahead. And she drove through that. I felt very touched. That's so true love, because she loved you so much. She was willing to drive through it. One step below a hurricane. See me, strong winds and rain and tornadoes everywhere. But we know about being needy. He said, "But the needy will rejoice." It says, "in the Holy One of Israel," which is God the Creator. And sometimes we just got to do that. We just got to give ourselves to the Lord. So, our gracious Father, we thank you so much for your love and grace and mercy. We thank you so much for allowing us to be here today, gracious Father. We thank you so much for the God that you are and the things you do in our lives. We thank you so much for your Son, Jesus, who died on the cross for our sins. It's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.